Good afternoon. All right. It's very strange to be here in your country and speaking to you as educators. What is strange is that in England, the majority of primary school and secondary school educators are females. So to stand in front of so many of you as men, it is really a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. All right, today I'm going to just give you a kind of introduction to what I'm going to say for the rest of the week. I apologize for those who don't understand the English. I hope that you can work with me and somebody will translate for you. So, as your president has already said, my name is Lorraine MacDonald. I'm the wife of one man. And I'm the mother of four children. We are the parents of 4 children who attended our primary school, our Seventh-day Adventist school. So this is my husband, Carlton MacDonald, and our 4 children, who you can see on the screen. Oh, it's not so bright. Hopefully you can see it. A little bit about me. I've been in education for over 34 years, and I've taught at all levels. So I have taught in the primary sector, I've taught in the secondary sector, and the tertiary postgraduate courses. I've taught in our Seventh-day Adventist school system, and I've spent most of my time in the public school system. Part of my work, 5 years, I spent as a consultant teaching teachers how to be teachers. So I was a trainer of teachers. But I was also a principal examiner, assistant principal examiner for A-levels. You have A-levels here in Tanzania. So I was one of the examiners in the field of business and IT. I'm passionate about ministry. So as well as being an educator, I'm very passionate about evangelism and ministry. I love to study the Bible, and I'm also a radio presenter. So that's a little bit about me. But my work as the British Union Conference Director of Education has a lot of responsibilities. I'm just one person for the whole of the UK. The whole of the UK. So you have several education directors for different specific areas. I've met 3. Well, I am only one doing all of the UK. So I look after our Seventh-day Adventist schools, but I'm also supporting teachers who work, we call it mainstream, you would call it public schools. I'm also responsible for looking after the families or the parents, or supporting the parents of pupils who are in the public system, the mainstream system. Now, I don't know whether you have this here. Do you have people who teach their children at home? They don't go to school? So we have a system in England where you can, as parents, you can homeschool your children. So I look after those families, support the families in our church who are homeschooling. And then in each church, there should be a local education director. That is also part of my responsibility. One person. Too much work. Too much work. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of context of who we are, the British Union Conference sits in the Trans-European Division. So I don't think you can see, the writing is quite small. So of the 13 divisions of the General Conference, the Trans-European Division is where we sit. The British Union Conference is part of the Trans-European Division, and we have 2 conferences. So we have a union, and then we have 2 conferences, the South England Conference and the North England Conference, and 3 mission fields. 3 mission, that is Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. We have approximately 302 churches and 111 companies. And then we have about 42,000 members, Seventh-day Adventist members in the United Kingdom. For all of those people, we only have 7 schools. 7. For the whole of the UK. The UK is about 68 to 70 million people, but we only have about 7 schools for the 40 plus members of the church. So we have 7 schools. 6 of them are primary, and 1 of them is a secondary school, which is the first school you can see there. We have been running schools since 1919, so that's over 100 years. We had lots of schools. Again, you won't be able to see all of them at the bottom. They used to be open, but they've now closed for one reason or another. Let me rush on because of time. So, I was very pleased to see your motto there, very similar to ours, which is educating for eternity. That's what we believe in, that we are educating children for eternity. Would you agree with me? Yes, that's what we're doing. We're educating children for eternity. And we have some values that we have put into our department. We are trying to deliver quality, and I want to talk about that when I do the workshops. Quality. If we want people to believe in our schools, we must deliver quality. Would you agree with me? If we don't, why should somebody pay to come to our school? When you can get a free government school that is outstanding. Therefore, our schools must be outstanding. They must be high quality. The education that the children receive must be of the highest quality. We are creating potential in the children, the students, to achieve to their highest excellence, but also potential in the teachers. You must always be improving yourself, trying to deliver the best, trying to be cutting edge. My husband teaches computer science, or used to, and he teaches mobile apps, because that's the world that our young people are growing up in, is it not? This is the world that they're interacting with. And so you need to be cutting edge, even as Seventh-day Adventist schools. And then we're leading transformation. Those are our 3 values. Leading transformation, because our idea is that our schools will not only just transform children academically, but also transform them spiritually. And so those are the values that we hold as a school. This week, I hope to talk on these subjects that you can see there. I've been changing my subjects as I've been here. The longer I speak with people, and I was in Dar es Salaam, yes, on Sabbath, speaking in the afternoon and interacting with the members. And they have a lot to say about our Seventh-day Adventist schools. A lot to say. And we want to see whether we can improve on what we're doing. So I'm going to talk today about worldview transformation, the impact. Tomorrow I will talk about digital media and the impact on the brain development. On the next day I will talk about our Seventh-day schools. Are we meeting all the needs of our children, of our members? And then day 4, just to talk about being the head and not the tail. All right? So let's start today because our time is gone. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to throw out a question. Somebody will need to have a mic so I can get an answer. What is a worldview? If you think you know the answer, I was quite interested. I asked this on Sabbath, and I was quite interested to hear the replies. What is a worldview? Anybody want to attempt to answer the question?
Thank you. Maybe let me try to ask, worldview, do you mean that we should provide a definition of the term worldview, or we should talk about the worldview concerning with education?
Okay, so what is a worldview? A definition?
Just the definition.
Yes.
On my thought, I think, is perspective. Yes.
Okay.
Of the world. Yeah.
Anybody else want to add? What is a worldview? A perspective is correct. A perspective about what?
Now, a worldview, maybe we're talking about the world assumptions. World assumptions.
Assumptions, yes. Anything else? There's a hand at the back as well.
I can say that a worldview is the philosophy of life. Philosophy of life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There was one more hand at the back I saw. Hopefully I'll make the slides available through Sister Devotha. So I won't read everything on the slide because of time, but we will hand those out. Yes.
Yeah, it will. A worldview is the way of looking at things.
All right, thank you very much. I can see I've got teachers in the room. So a worldview is a belief system that shapes your perception, your values, and your actions. And everyone has a worldview. Whether you realize it or not, every single person in this room has a worldview. You have a way of looking at the world, and this is what we would call your worldview. Or it's the lens through which you see and interpret the world around you. Even children have a worldview. They're not born with one, but as they are developing, they have a worldview. They have a worldview. So a worldview is how you think about the world and answer some of the very important questions of life. Where did I come from? Who am I? What has gone wrong with the world? What can we do to fix it, and where are we going? These are the main questions of life that we all seek to answer in one way or another. You may not be consciously thinking about it, but it's what we do. It's what we do. So how is a worldview formed? Again, I'll read out what's on the screen. It's informally. You don't intentionally set out to have a particular worldview. You don't start off thinking, I'm going to have this kind of worldview. It's informal. It's uncritical, so you're not thinking about it critically to start with. It's intergenerational. In other words, for children in particular, their worldview is shaped by what is passed down by their parents, from their parents to the children. Or it can be intra-generational. In other words, organizations or clubs or special interest groups, which we might call the church. Special interest groups that communicate ideas and beliefs and activities. And it happens over time. You don't just wake up one day and have a worldview. It is developed over time from the habits that we form. So we have habits of belief. And then, of course, from the community that we are in, our worldview is formed. But what is shaping the worldview of young people today? The children who will sit in your class from day to day. Today's children are growing up in a world that is secular. That is secular. The UK has been deemed to be the most secular country in the whole of Europe. A very secular world. It used to be a Christian country. We sent out missionaries to various parts of the world but now we have become a godless country. Approximately 7 to 8 churches close every week as people are less and less interested in religious things. I'm hoping this is not the case for Tanzania. It's valueless. A lot of people have few values. Anything goes. Whatever feels right, you can do it. This is the world that our children and young people are growing up in. It's genderless. What do I mean by that? Genderless. I don't know about Tanzania, so I can't speak for Tanzania. But in Europe, in the UK, you can be born a man and decide tomorrow you want to be a woman. You can be born a woman and decide you want to be a man. Or if you're really confused, today you're a man, tomorrow you're a woman. You have no gender. And some of the young people are saying, do not call me he. Do not call me she. Call me they. Because I don't want to have a gender identification. When you fill in your application form, you can put male, female, prefer not to say. This is the world that our young people are growing up in, genderless. It's a world of relative truth. What is my truth may be different to what is your truth. And it's relative depending on what's going on. What is the in thing at the moment might determine what is truth and what is not truth. We live in a world of conspiracy, disinformation, and so truth is blurred. And we live in what we call, in the UK or in the West, the microwave. Do we have this here? The microwave? Abraham? Abraham is not here. Do we have microwaves here in the UK? So we call this the microwave generation. Instant gratification. If it's not happening straight away, they're bored. They're bored. So they want instant gratification. When they press the button, something must happen. And then it's a very merciless environment. There's lack of compassion for one another. In some places, I will stab you just because you looked at me in the wrong way. Not because you did anything wrong to me. They see the suffering and we walk on by. We live in a merciless environment. And these things are shaping the worldview of the children that will sit in front of you. All right, I'm going to spend very quickly, I'm going to skip a few slides because of time. We think of the world in generations. The Bible used to talk about this generation and that generation. We read about them in the genealogies. And there are said to be about 7 generations in existence now. Because of time, I won't spend, but I'm looking out at you, and I would imagine that most of you are either Generation Y or Generation Z. Would I be right? You were born in these years. Okay, I see the time. He said I have 10 minutes. Okay, she said to 4:30? 4:20, okay, I will go as quickly as I can. Okay, there's beliefs that there'll be one day an Omega generation. This is the last generation that we'll see when Jesus will be here when Jesus comes. We want to talk about Generation Z. Young people born between the ages of the years of 1997 to 2012. I'm going to skip. Generation Z, they are much more tolerant of other people. They're tolerant of different cultures, tolerant of sexual orientation, tolerant of races. They are less likely to want to go to church. Less likely to want to go to church. They're more likely to think of themselves and not believe in authority figures in the church or the government. They are less in person and face to face. and they may have less face-to-face contact with others because they spend most of their time, and mine's not here, on their smartphone. This is the world. They're less likely to read books and newspapers. They stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning on social media or their telephone. Yes? Possibly more depressed, though, than prior generations. They feel more lonely and are feeling as though they are not needed, and they have possibly a higher suicide rate. So are our schools relevant? Thinking about the young people who have a different type of worldview to you and I, and the world that we grew up in, the values that we held, are our schools relevant? What kind of model do our schools reflect? Are we exclusive? In other words, if you don't fit into our way of thinking, you're not welcome in our schools. Or do we have segregation where a certain type of children can be educated in our schools, others, properly with special needs, that's another topic to talk about, they're educated somewhere else because we believe they don't fit in with normal, dare I say it, normal children? Or do we have an integration model where we have the children in the school, they may be, the mainstream children are here, those with special needs are in a room over there, separated from everybody else? Or are we an inclusive school? Are our schools inclusive? In other words, anyone with any need can come to our school within reason. Within reason. So, we are wanting to include every type of child in our school. Could any child or young person attend our schools? Adventist education is an outreach tool. Put your hand up if you believe that Adventist education is an outreach, it's a form of evangelism, it's a form of ministry. Anybody in the room? Yes, that's what our schools are about. The Catholics say, give me a child until he's 7 and I will give you the man. They believe that when they take a child into school, they will shape their worldview. Is that what our schools are doing? Put up your hand if you realize this. You may not be able to see the statistics. But as of 2019, we have 9,500 schools across the schools and universities and colleges across the whole world. We are the largest Protestant school system in the world. Put your hand up if you realize that. No one hands. We are after the Catholics have the most schools. We, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, have the next largest school system in the world. 9,500 schools in over 150 countries with over 111,000 teachers standing in front of over 2 million students every day. Every day, that's what happens from our church. Are you not proud to be a Seventh-day Adventist? Yes? Yes, we are. But we have a problem in our church that for every 100 people that join our church, 43 people will leave. That is the current statistics. For every 100 people, 43 people will leave. But we have a solution. Houston, we don't have a problem, we have a solution because we have more than 9,500 evangelistic centers with over 1,100,000 evangelists sitting in front of 2 million candidates every day in over 150 countries. That's ministry. That's ministry. But I'm pleased to say that in the East Central African Division, I read this from the website of the East Central African Division, that over nearly 2,500 of those schools are in the East Central African Division. And because of our schools, Over 100,000 people join the church every year, because of our schools. That's ministry. That's ministry. The General Conference has got some objectives. I will go as the strategy for 2020 to 2025. I won't read all of these, but the top one says they want every conference and mission to have a 5-year plan to increase the number of Adventist primary and secondary schools across the world, because they believe that education is important. Education and redemption are the same. To restore in man the image of his maker, to bring him back to the perfection in which he was created, to promote the development of mind, body, and soul, that the divine purpose in his creation might be realized. This was to be the great work of redemption, and this is the object of education, the great object of life. Our schools are built on our Seventh-day Adventist philosophy, and they should be Bible-based and Christ-centered. They should be service-oriented and kingdom-directed. We need to be teaching a biblical worldview. That's what we need to be doing. Teaching a biblical worldview that looks at the whole person, the mental, the social, the spiritual, and the physical. Because what we are doing when we sit and stand and teach the young people every day is worldview transformation. That's what we're about. As teachers, as educators, as leaders in our institutions, you are doing worldview transformation. The world is teaching them something else, but you are there to do worldview transformation. The biblical worldview. Thy word have I hid in my heart that I may not sin against thee. And it's a collaboration. It's not just the work of the school, it's the work of the home, and it's the work of the church. I don't have time to go in that. I won't spend too much time on this, but education never happens in a vacuum. You are always portraying some form of worldview, some kind of value. Whatever that value is, you convey it. Jesus had a worldview. His worldview was, I've come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. The development of a child's worldview is critical because it helps determine the kind of character children will develop and the type of God they will worship and proclaim. This worldview, this character is developed and molded by what children see, what they hear, and what they are exposed to every day. So are we meeting the needs, as I come to a close, are we meeting the needs of students coming to our schools? They all come with different needs. Are we meeting those needs? Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. We are in the process of worldview transformation, that we will let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. The Bible also tells us in Romans 12, verse 2, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. And that's what's happening with all that is affecting our young people. Their worldview is being shaped, and if we don't do something about it, they will be transformed into the pattern of this world. But we are called to help them to be transformed by the renewing of their minds. Are our schools prepared for this? The young people with a different worldview that will come into your church, are we prepared for this? Sister White says in the book Education, it is the work of true education to train the youth to be thinkers. Critical thinking. Thinkers and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts. Is this what you're doing in your schools? Is this worldview transformation? All around the world, our schools have a reason for being. They are there for accession to faith, retention, to keep them in the schools, keep them in our church, and for redemption. I want to recommend to you a book called Living with the Mind of Jesus, How We Shape Children's Worldview. That's it for today. Our next presentation, as I said, will be the impact of the digital media on the development, on the brain development. So that's what we'll be looking at tomorrow. Thank you for your attention.